Happy Monday, everybody. It was a great day. We're having a great day today until good old Gary Gensler decided, you know what? The people of crypto have not been saying my name recently. I need to go and do something so stupid that'll get me featured across all of crypto Twitter and crypto YouTube. Well, Gary, mission accomplished, because today we're talking about you. We got a lot to discuss today. Got a mixed bag of green and red on the crypto landscape, but what's the next move? We're going to discuss it. Let's roll that intro.
Yo, yo, yo.
Well. There is the T-Shroom. Happy Monday, T-Shroom. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling better than I deserve, Tim. It is one of those days where, sometimes you're feeling a little scattered, but, wow, we're laser focused. We're in the show. We're laser focused on these charts, on the news, on the markets, and things are looking pretty good, I must say. Definitely getting a lot more bullish vibes this week than last week and the week before.
Yeah, and I would say, again, we're going to discuss all of the Gary Gensler stuff. And of course, there's a new lawsuit he has coming out against Robinhood. I got a lot of thoughts on that. I know T-Shroom's going to have thoughts on that because that was his exchange that got him into the crypto space in general. So when we get into the news, we'll probably start off with Robinhood. But again, it's good to see that a little bit of a mixed bag. There's still some coins in the green. There are some signs. I haven't looked at every single crypto today. Believe it or not, guys, I don't chart every coin every single day. But there have been a couple that I'm looking at that I'm saying, okay, it does look like we've reared back up to some resistance. I'll kind of talk about that in the chart section. Ultimately, I'm going to walk away. I'll give you guys the beginnings of my feelings today. I'm not too bearish, but I'm also not necessarily too bullish. In fact, I think we're exactly where we're supposed to be in this concept that I've prepared you guys for, that everyone goes into having events thinking that crypto is about to take off to new heights post-halving. But every single time historically, you're in for a little bit of boring, sideways, choppy action for a couple of months. And ultimately, that's what we're kind of seeing play out right now. So we'll address that more in the charts here in just a couple of minutes. We'll address the big stories of the day. You don't want to go anywhere. You do want to smash like buttons, though, and you do want to hit subscribe. We're about to hit 1,600. It's a while since we were 600. 16,000 subscribers, right? So we are quickly on our way to 20K. Saw a comment earlier today, T-Shroom, that somebody was predicting 100K by the end of the year. And you guys know the rules. If we get to 100K subscribers before the end of 2024, I will shave my beard. 50K, and I'll shave my head live on stream. I have hair. It's up
Nice.
there. It's not fake. It's there.
What are you trying to say?
What?
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, well, what's under your hat, T-Shroom?
Hair, but it's not real hair, unfortunately. One day I'll show it.
Yeah, so if we get that prediction to 100K, I'm scared of what I'm going to look like with a shaved beard. But I have made the deal, 100,000 subscribers, and we will shave my beard live on stream. T-Shroom, do you have a quote of the day for us before we get into some crypto discussion here?
I do have a quote of the day. Oh, that's not it. That's Tim
a
without
guy.
hair.
Okay.
The biggest risk
I would be flattered.
is not taking any risks at all. Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know what year he said this, but certainly his risks have paid off. What do you think about this one here, Tim?
I absolutely agree with this. I made a tweet over the weekend that was pretty much like one of the biggest mistakes traders face is unwilling to enter. They have this indecision. They're unwilling to enter trades. And it's just this thing, guys, like when you trade, you are risking. You should be smart with what you're risking. You should be educated in how you read news and charts to know when to enter and get out. But if you think you're going to bat 1,000 and be positive on every single one of your trades, you are kidding yourself. You have to risk. And then ultimately, the more you risk, the more you're willing to gain in the long run. So there is a balance there. I'm not telling people to go mortgage their houses and put it all on red. But I will say, if you want to make money, you also have to be willing to risk money. If you want to pick the coin that's going to give you a 50x, that coin also is more than likely, a 50x coin is also more likely to go to zero than, let's say, a 5x coin, right? So even when you're choosing which coins to invest in, you're choosing what is your risk tolerance. And the higher your risk tolerance, the more money you could make in the future. It's all about being educated when you do it. So I love that. I don't know how much of a Zuck fan I am as overall as a person, but I am a fan of his quote right there. And I don't think he's the originator, but he did say it. So we'll give him credit for it. T-Shroom, what about you? Are you a Zuck fan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's hard not to admire what he's done over the last decade, with Facebook and with social media. Has he made some controversial calls when it comes to ethics and free speech? Absolutely, he has. Would I have made different decisions if I was in his shoes? I think I probably would. I'd like to think that I would, but I'm not in his shoes, and people forget that. When you're the leader of a tech company like Facebook that is just so influential in so many different ways, politically, technologically, I believe they created their own programming language for Facebook. He's clearly a genius and he knows what he's doing in business. Maybe a little too shrewd at the inception of Facebook. So there's some documentaries, or was it a theatrical show?
They don't call them evil idiots.
That's right. Interesting take there, Tim. Well, I'm ready to get into the charts. I want to see what's cooking.
Let's do it. Well, let's start off with the bubbles. We've now moved into the bubble phase of the Investing Bros live show, where we like to look at a lot of fancy colors and big bubbles. Big gainer here looks like it is World Coin, and I hate that. Never going to invest in that, no matter how many green bubbles they have right there. Athena is up here, 6% up. HBAR's up. Injective's up. Jupiter, Render, Solana up 4.3. Keep an eye out. I gave a fresh Solana price prediction video going out tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our YouTube members could actually be watching it right now. Don't go watch it right now because you're watching the live show. But it's up for our members that they can watch it right now, and then it'll be up for everybody else at 6 p.m., given a long-term top of 2025 price prediction for Solana, but it's having a good day today. Again, we do have some big losers, though. Bonk, one of our meme coins, down 6.4. Doge is down. I saw someone in chat say, Tim, they wanted me to look there. AKT, Optimism's probably hiding behind my head, 3.3. CFX, Jasmine. So it's a mixed bag. Rarely do you see equal-sized bubbles, green and red. You usually see it overwhelmingly more red or overwhelmingly more green. Today, almost split down the middle. Let's take a look at the top 10 and see what they're doing. Let me refresh this page, just get the most up-to-date data. There we go. Bitcoin down 1%. We're flirting with 63,000. We'll see that on the charts here in just a couple of minutes. Down 1%. Ethereum down 2%. BNB kind of holding tight, only 0.3. As we said, Solana, big gainer, up 4%, almost 4.5%. XRP's up 3% itself. Then you got Dogecoin down 4, Toncoin 0.4, Cardano only up 0.4. So again, even in the top 10, kind of all over the place. This is one of those messy days where I'll show you some levels above, I'll show you some levels before, but a lot of people hate when chartists say could go up, could go down. Unfortunately, there are days where it's more than likely will go up, more than likely will go down. You always could go up or could go down. But today is probably going to be one of those legitimate, hey guys, I'll give you some levels I'm watching over the next couple of days. I can't tell you which one's going to happen first. I can guess, but I cannot tell you which one will happen first. Speaking of those, let's go over and take a look at Bitcoin. And again, Bitcoin on the daily chart, cooling off here a little bit, but the good news here, let's go down to the 4-hour chart. The good news here is we broke through this resistance just a couple of days ago. Again, we were in a falling trading channel ever since back here on April 8th. These lower highs and lower lows were in a parallel channel. Well, we broke bullishly out of that channel. And then here more recently, you see even more so on the 1-hour chart. We are back testing this former resistance. We've done it once, twice, and it looks like we're in the process of doing it for a third time. That's a pretty good touch. If we can continue to hold this as support, that gives me a lot of confidence and strength in Bitcoin. When we come over here, though, let's go back to the 4-hour chart. Let's turn on our Lux Algo oscillators. Of course, you guys know charts are always brought to you guys by Lux Algo, the best trading tool out there. We're seeing some signs on the 4-hour chart that a pullback should be happening. Now, there's a lot of chaos going on my screen. I'm going to show it to you guys in case you guys are newer to the channel or newer to Lux Algo. It looks like chaos, but there's some rhymes and reasons here. First of all, Lux Algo called this rally here perfectly after getting back up above a support level. We printed a buy order and then went on our way all the way up, coming back up not only to our take profit, you can see we wicked through, but an order block, a former order block that we broke back through and turned into a breaker block, which is strong resistance. And you can see here, we now have used this resistance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now 6 times. We've come back up into this pink zone and used it for resistance. I'll tell you this, right now this is bearish, but the fact that we've used this breaker block so much, you're going to see some others as I go to other time frames. This breaker block is definitely weakening. At a certain point, we should be able to bounce back up through it. And what you're going to see here, it's very strange to see it this way, but this order block right here, someone might be asking, like, is this a resistance order block? Is this a support order block? It's actually support. This order block got built after we came up a couple of days ago on May 4th, and we got back up to 64,500. We fell back down and showed that there's a lot of liquidity in this zone, ranging between 62.9 all the way up to about 64,000. So you can see here, as we're retesting the red former resistance level, turning it into support, this is starting to give us a nice strong level of support itself. If it's lost, however, I will say you do have to keep an eye down here on our smart trail concept, and we're talking about back down to 61.6. 60,000 to 61,000, give or take, as a level for support. That would bring us back down below the red, but as a whole, I think that support should hold up. When we come down to lower time frames, like the 1-hour chart, you guys can see here, we're still looking at an order block and a take profit back in the range of 62.6. That does still fall within this nice order block pretty much over here. It's a little bit lower, actually, but we definitely can see those kind of have some confluence here. So I do believe that Bitcoin will come down and retest these lower levels, coming back down to the 62.6 area. Hit the take profit, hit the order block, hit the red line. You're also going to see a pink breaker block above us on the 1-hour chart, back up here towards 64,000, which means more than likely this is the I don't know which is going to happen first. I'll look at the oscillators, but ultimately we could see the price do this and reflect and come back down, or we could see the price even right now when we're wrestling with this smart show concept, come back up, hit the red level, and then come back down later to touch the red line. I honestly don't know which one's going to happen first. Let's see if the oscillators give us any details as to what it's looking at. So we got our stochastics RSI dragging along the bottom. That's kind of asking for a little bit of bounce up. So that's going to vote go up first. You have the RSI wrestling with the 50 as resistance, but coming back down ultimately. That's going to say we should go down probably. MACD kind of teetering off. That's going to be a middle one right there. So we're not getting any help from the oscillators whatsoever. The only thing I'll say here is we got a good sell order on the 1-hour chart with the red reversal, the bearish divergence, the bearish momentum, and then the negative money flow came in here just a little bit later. But you can see this rounding off right here. We're not printing bullish momentum just yet, but we are printing some reversals, and that money flow is not convincing necessarily that it's consistent to go down. So even when I go to the oscillators here on the 1-hour chart, I just don't have a strong feeling about which way we're going to go. But what I can tell you, and I kind of talked about this in the intro, is let's just back up here for a second and take a bird's eye view of the Bitcoin chart. Let's come out all the way to the daily chart. Let's go back over to which chart was, oh no, we want to go to the other one as well. Here we go. All right, so we're on the Bitcoin index. This is something that we talked about before the halving ever happened. Again, I think price action was probably somewhere in this range back towards 67,000. But we did a lot of deep analysis on the channel about how previous halving events have happened. Really quickly, I'll show you. It's going to be very fast, so don't worry about it. This green line right here, halving event. Look at the sideways action all the way from May until July, August. So that was actually only 2 or 3 months, but we ended up seeing 2 months of boring action and actually 5 months before we hit the previous high again. That tells you sideways, boring action, manipulative stories. Even when we got explosive, we exploded up for a little bit of time and then came right back down to the boring range before the bull market took off. You come back over here to 2016, same exact thing. In fact, I'm of the opinion that of all the previous halving events, we look the most like this one. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be exact, but that couple of weeks before the halving peak, followed by boring action and one good fall shortly after, and then back up into boring price action for, again, several months. We're talking about from July to December. I think this is probably something very similar to what we could see happen over the next couple of months. But again, having event supposed to be so bullish, boring price action. And of course, you go back to the first one. This one actually had the least amount of boring action, but still, even though we rallied up into it and went a little higher, it took several months before we would break the pre-halving high again. It took 3 months. So in the same breath, as we kind of come back over and we're taking a look here at 2024 bullish price action, I'm just not going to be surprised whatsoever to see the price kind of hover mostly between this yellow box of 71 to 60,000, and then occasionally maybe making a kick out, maybe a little bit below 60, maybe a little above 71. But as a whole, it should be probably August before we actually see anything significant in Bitcoin price do something special. Just embrace that, everybody. Just get ready for the long, boring, are we about to pump? Are we about to dump? Just like we've had here last week, amazing bullish news, right? Everyone loved the fact that the job report didn't come out as well as people thought, and that caused a lot of bullish momentum to come back into crypto. But right as that bullish momentum comes, old Gary Gensler's got to go ahead and rear his head as well and say, we're going to continue to fight crypto and keep things like Robinhood from giving out crypto or letting people trade it on exchanges. It's this back and forth action. If you want to be a tinfoiled hat person, like I find myself being quite often, it's almost like this is all choreographed, and there's some secret puppet master behind the scenes just making the markets do this. Or you could just say, well, that's a weird coincidence that every single time we get bullish, they have some sort of bad news, and every time we get bearish, they have some sort of good news that keeps us in a tight range for multiple months at a time. You can go that route as well. Either way, this is history that we're watching repeat itself once again, and ultimately, it's just what you got to kind of strap on in and be prepared for. T-Shroom, we're going to do some more TA on altcoins. We're going to make sure to leave a lot of time for Q&A. I saw a lot of suggestions in chat, but it's 3:17. I want to go ahead and get into some of our news. I've kind of flirted with that big story today of being Gary Gensler. But why don't you take us into the news, the big headlines, while everyone else smashes the like button. And if you have not already, hit subscribe if you're enjoying the show and you want daily access to the most relevant pieces of chart information and news information to inform your investing decisions. T-Shroom, tell us about Gary Gensler and Robinhood.
Absolutely. Well, Gary is at it again, Tim, and I think we've covered it really well so far, but we want to get into the details. One of the things that Caleb Franzen likes to do, and in the spirit of the Franzen, we are going to, and I wish I had longer hair for this, but we're going to go ahead and look at the chart for Robinhood and see how is the market taking this? And so far here on the daily chart, you can see that the market is taking this in stride. I mean, it's the candlestick on the daily chart for Robinhood today is green, right? There's really nothing that the market is interpreting about this lawsuit against Robinhood, one of the biggest crypto on-ramps for a lot of different people in the United States, at least. And the market's just saying, we're going to go ahead and buy this stock, even though it's being sued by the SEC. I have a lot of thoughts on this, Tim, because Robinhood is kind of how I initially, bought into Bitcoin and bought into Ethereum. Now I'm obviously an iTrust capital guy, right? And, keeping also a good amount of crypto on Arculus cold storage as well. But let's look into the details here of Robinhood, one of the first crypto exchanges that I ever used. Robinhood Crypto says, SEC has weak case in response to a Wells notice. So the Wells notice, of course, is not in action yet. It's also not a lawsuit. It is a threat, essentially. It's a threat with some details. But this is Robinhood kind of punching back. Said, we firmly believe that the assets listed on our platform are not securities, said Dan Gallagher, Robinhood's market's chief legal, compliance, and corporate affairs officer, said in a statement. We look forward to engaging with the SEC to make clear just how weak any case against Robinhood Crypto would be on both the facts and the law. So there's more details there. But this tone is very interesting because it seems like Dan Gallagher is just on top of it. He's just like, we're not super worried about it. We're actually looking forward to it. It's just like grandma coming over with a fresh baked cake. We're kind of looking forward to, helping provide a little bit of clarity there. for the old SEC, for Gary over there, who needs a little bit of clarity. Robinhood Crypto's Wells notice comes amid an uptick in regulatory warnings issued towards the U.S. Crypto firms by the SEC. But it doesn't stop there. Following Uniswap Labs' receipt of a Wells notice, the price of its native Uni token fell sharply last month. Among the tokens offered on Robinhood in the U.S., Uni was listed last July. Now, in my opinion, Tim, there's not a direct link between this and the Wells notice we're seeing handed over to Robinhood today, right? But Uniswap is listed on Robinhood. And to my knowledge, Uniswap is one of the more recent coins that has gotten a slap on the wrist, a Wells notice, and potential further investigations. And that's one of the only ones that's listed on Robinhood. Famously, does not list Cardano, does not list Polygon, does not list a lot of other coins, XRP, on down the line. There's a ton that are. In fact, there's only like 15 total that are listed, and a lot of them are like the Bitcoin Cashes of the world.
I pulled them up. I pulled them up here if you want to take a look at them real quick.
Let's do it.
These are ones, in case anyone is maybe newer to crypto investing, and we're going to deal with a lot. I've seen a lot of comments in chat. I have a lot of similar opinions to some people in chat here. But anyway, these are the coins right now you can get. Aave, Avalanche, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Chainlink, Compound, Dogecoin, Ethereum Classic, Litecoin, Shiba Inu, Stellar Lumens, Tezos, Uniswap, and USD Coin, otherwise known as USDC. Now, like T-Shroom said, Uniswap has recently had their own Wells notice delivered to them via the SEC. But again, it's mostly because of the way Uniswap is handling tokens that the SEC has deemed securities. Well, how do we know what tokens or coins have been deemed by securities? Well, we dealt with this months ago when all of this came out. Robinhood delisted every single coin that the SEC listed when they went after, I believe, Coinbase. Was it Coinbase or was it one of the I think maybe it was a Binance. Was it Binance or Coinbase? Either way, there was a different Wells notice / lawsuit that were listed by the SEC. You know what's crazy here recently? Shout out to Robin Burke, by the way, became a gold member. Robin, thank you so much for becoming a member. Cool stuff. We have a members only stream on Wednesday. You definitely get to be a part of, so make sure you attach into Discord. Back to what I was saying though, is we recently have seen news, T-Shroom, that Gary has been considering Ethereum a security for well over a year, and yet he did not put Ethereum on the list of tokens that he listed against other exchanges. He didn't, when asked under oath in front of Congress if Ethereum was a security or not, he did not reply yes. Now, he didn't say no. He purposely gave a very political answer. But either way, he refused to call it a security. And the only thing on this list, on the Robinhood list, that still is in effect that now has been called one is Ethereum, right? Robinhood actually went out of their way to stay off the SEC's bad side by delisting every single coin that had been accused. And I think that's stupid in and of itself. We talked about this before. The fact that Robinhood bowed to the pressures of the SEC, despite the fact that the SEC has not won anything in the world of crypto. They are just giving their opinions. I am encouraged to see Robinhood CEO stand up, because when I first saw this news, my first reaction, T-Shroom, was, oh my gosh, the SEC might actually win one, because up to this point, Robinhood, who is not a crypto exchange, they are a TradFi exchange that happen to list altcoins. They're going to bow to the pressures of the SEC. They're going to bow to the pressures of Gary Gensler, because they don't want to lose their license to sell other stocks and to let their customers buy and sell stocks on their platform. So to see him kind of stand up and say, hey, we have a very good feeling we're going to win this case. There's nothing wrong. We're not listing any securities. I'm like, all right, good. Because if he keeps that feeling and maybe he borrows a Coinbase or Ripple lawyer or two, he's going to smack Gary Gensler and the SEC around once again, should this go to court. So that was my initial feeling here, T-Shroom. I have more thoughts, but I want to kind of throw it back to you. What was your initial feelings when you saw this? Were you in the same boat as me, or what was going through your mind?
Yeah, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that Robinhood was going to challenge this, and they were going to challenge it, face on, head on. Because Robinhood isn't like Kraken or even they are very much backed by Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, any bank in Wall Street that you can name. They, in one way or another, have their hand in Robinhood, whether they're invested in Citadel, which is the clearinghouse for Robinhood, and everybody gets super worked up about them because they kind of got the finger pointed at them back when GameStop wasn't sellable or something. Like, remember that?
Yeah,
that
that's what
issue.
Chat was kind of going at. There are people in chat that definitely don't like Robinhood because of the infamous 2021. Was it? Yeah, it was early 2021. We had the stonks that pissed off a lot of people,
and that's a topic for another day, and it's an interesting one for sure. It's definitely a case study in mismanagement of retail investment to some extent, right? But overall, right, it's different from Kraken. It's different from, and I was going to say Coinbase, but Coinbase has really kind of become Robinhood in a lot of ways. They obviously don't list stocks at all, but they're similar to Robinhood in that they do have a lot of Wall Street backing at this point. So the fact that Coinbase has had positive momentum with the SEC, the fact that even Ripple Labs has had positive momentum, I see that. This is the way that I see it, Tim. Not to put a big, but this is, you asked me my initial thought.
Yeah.
My initial thought was not ever that Robinhood was going to not challenge this. I figured that they would hit the head on. But putting on my tinfoil hat here, Tim, it's almost like, and I feel like I've said this before, if not here on Bro Time, it's almost like the SEC is throwing up these straw man lawsuits to make it look like they're coming out and really doing their due diligence on the crypto industry. Oh, we see a problem here. Oh, we see a problem here. But in reality, they're kind of a lot of smoke and mirrors ushering in crypto, right? And to be as generous as possible. So first of all, that's a statement in of itself. But to be generous with the SEC, you could say they are doing a job of looking out for the Lunas, the Terra Lunas, the projects that do end up kind of going belly up, whether out of their own fault or not. But they are providing a bit of filtration service, the SEC is, because that case, the Luna case, or Terra Luna Labs case versus SEC, that, in my opinion, is likely to go a lot different. Mm-hmm. So, and that's because, there was a lot of victims. But if you look at Cardano, or if you look at Coinbase, you look at Robinhood, there's no victims there. Nobody needs to be made whole. They're not counting up the pennies to pay back investors because nothing bad happened, right? So why are they being sued? Well, and I think it's because the SEC is kind of, they feel this obligation, like crypto is this big thing. We need to go around and kind of check, dot some I's, across some T's, and get this going. And I think a lot of the legal community that have nothing to do with crypto, they kind of see this, and again, I'm kind of filling in some gaps here for myself, but I feel like the legal community looks at what the SEC is doing with crypto, and they're like, that's kind of just business as usual, because that is how the SEC acts. This is how agencies of the state, they act. They just go out and sue private companies, and the private companies, of course, go up in arms because they're like, crap, we gotta hand over all these legal fees. But at the end of the day, I think that the SEC here, they're trying to get ahead and do what they feel is in the right move for the people, and as an extension of Congress. And with Gary Gensler at the helm, he's just kind of really ran with that, and it can be misinterpreted as evil or like behind the scenes as bad, and it does come across that way at times to me, for sure. But I think that there is an argument to be made that really what the SEC is doing is just kind of circling the wagon on crypto, saying what are the bad apples, what are the good apples, and we don't want to get punished in the future for not looking into this at all, because there isn't a Department of Cryptocurrency at the U.S. government. So anyway, tinfoil hat to just say it's a bunch of strawman lawsuits that they don't intend to win. It's a formal process to investigate crypto.
Okay, so there's a couple different things here. I think, and I understand why you're doing it. I think you're giving them a couple of benefits of doubt,
right,
that they don't deserve. Right, so I understand the argument you're coming from. It's kind of the devil's advocate to what probably the majority of the crypto space feels. But let's just address that. First of all, they are a non-elected government entity, meaning we the people had no say over who went into those positions, and yet they get to take our taxpayer dollars to regulate things to try to protect our money and our investments, right? So when you say that they're just doing these frivolous lawsuits to do their job, that's a funny way of saying they're wasting taxpayer dollars to delay the development of cryptocurrency. So that is kind of the best case scenario. There's another thing you said where you were kind of almost trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, being Gary Gensler. And I know you don't believe this, but you're making, again, an argument for the sake
It's a
of
tinfoil
argument
hat argument, right?
that he is trying to do what's best for the people. And here's the thing. I don't think any of us believe that that's actually the case. I think we all are tired of Gary Gensler and know that there's fishy stuff going on. But that might have been somewhat of a legitimate argument up till about a month ago, give or take. And the reason I say that is because at least he'd been somewhat forthcoming and somewhat consistent. Where he has lost all credibility of saying he's doing what's best for the people is in what he's done and treated Ethereum. And I'm not going to try to say Ethereum's like this greatest thing ever and we should defend Ethereum at all costs. Ethereum's got things that are cool about it and things that are interesting about it that are like, all right, that needs to be looked into more. But at the end of the day, he specifically for an entire year for an entire year, he misled the people of the United States and Congress as to what his intentions were for Ethereum. He purposefully left it out of his initial listings of what he perceived to be securities. He waited until the opportune moment to manipulate the market to decide to come out and say, oh, I've considered this a security for a long time. That is where he lost it. Let's just be very honest. And the evidence points to this. It's not conspiracy theory. It's not, oh, crypto people just don't like Gary Gensler. The evidence is on the table that he is manipulating prices. Not even just of crypto, but of the whole market in general. I don't know who. We're assuming people like Aunt Beth, otherwise known as Elizabeth Warren, is in that group. But he is being used as a puppet by other people of power to manipulate markets, which is the exact opposite of what his job is. The whole point of his job is to protect us from skewy markets, to protect us from dangerous things that will harm our investments. Again, I don't even think we need it. I would be a big proponent of saying, let's just get rid of the SEC. There's probably other regulatory agencies we would need to create to take their place. But even if you were going to say, I believe in the SEC, this man is doing the exact opposite of his job. And I'm just kind of gotten to a point where I'm saying, how much longer does Congress allow him to continue to waste taxpayer dollars just on these circus events of lawsuits, not even just against cryptocurrency? A lot of his lawsuits against TradFi are absolutely ridiculous as well. How long until he is held responsible for his job in the same way anybody else who was hired should be held responsible for their job? This is clearly manipulation. And by the way, T-Shroom, can you go ahead? I'm going to do it. I'm going to get rid of this guy. I timed him out before. We're just going to go ahead and ban him from the channel. We're not going to do spamming, guys. And I warned him once, and he kept going. So goodbye, aesthetics. All right, back to what I was saying.
You've angered Tim.
Yeah, you don't mess with me while I'm ranting here. How much longer until Congress gets rid of this guy? He's not liked by the Republican side. He's not liked by the Democrat side. Nobody likes him. Nobody likes him. He even did one thing that was kind of anti this whole movement, and Elizabeth Warren went after him. So he has no friends. I bet you his twin brother on a beach somewhere doesn't even like him. How much longer until he is let go from this position? Because he is single-handedly manipulating the crypto market. He's driving technology out of the United States, which is the last thing we need to be doing when potentially being on the verge of a World War III situation. He is bad for crypto. He is bad for the United States. He's bad for the planet. Go get on a beach somewhere, Gary. I don't wish him harm to his physical body, but I do wish his career would end today.
And so do I, because I would get a free steak out of it, right, Tim? You and I, we've got an ongoing bet.
I would give you that steak I'll give you 2.
Dang.
Maybe 3.
That's actually really nice. I would eat those very gladly and relish them. And then I would turn around and buy you 2 steaks, Tim. Maybe even 3, just to one-up you.
There we go.
No, but look, I mean, I presented a very unpopular argument. It's not an argument that I believe. It's an argument, though, that is starting to make more sense given this more recent move with Robinhood, the Wells notice against Robinhood. I mean, let's stop for a second. Like, how far is the SEC willing to go here? Because TD Ameritrade lists IBIT, right, which is a cryptocurrency, right? It's Bitcoin. Are they going to send a Wells notice to TD Ameritrade? Like, how deep into the TradFi are they willing to go? Right? Are they willing to go to Schwab itself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where does it stop? I think again, it kind of makes me think that what they're doing here is running a smoke and mirrors campaign. Again, I don't necessarily believe this, but it's one possibility is that they're running this smoke and mirrors campaign knowing that they're going to lose in the American judicial system just to set precedent so that they can pick kings and they can pick serfs.
Yeah.
Right. And they have done away with a couple of companies that maybe deserve to go away. Right. And they've brought a couple to courts that were then, put on the brink of bankruptcy because of the court fees. So, clearly they're up to something here, and whether they're being led by someone who genuinely wants to see the country bettered and more, investors protected, it doesn't seem that way, or whether he's just a complete 100% puppet for some interest group, probably big insurance or big finance, that's coming in here and saying, hey, we don't like this crypto thing. You need to pump the brakes on it so that we can reorganize and at least invest in it, right? So that's kind of the range of possibilities I see.
At the end of the day, it's really this simple. I don't know if you ever heard this expression, and I'm not going to go too far with the analogy here, but people say, like, when you talk about Jesus, he was either a lunatic or he was telling the truth, and he was exactly who it was. You can't do anything else about Jesus. He either was a lunatic or he is who he says he was. Gary Gensler is either an idiot or one of the most corrupt and evil men currently in the United States. And guys, evidence shows he is no idiot. I'm not accusing him of being an idiot, but that's the only two options here. If anyone who's going to try to defend what Gary Gensler is doing with his decision-making has to be under the assumption that he's a complete idiot. And idiots should lose their job when they're the highest-ranking official of an American what's the proper term
regulatory agency. And Congress has recently, specifically Patrick Henry has made motions to not full out investigate, but really start a conversation about removing Gary Gensler, and that the organization, the SEC, under his leadership, have operated in an arbitrary and capricious manner, right? Which is the grounds for firing a dude. You're Congress, he works for you, get him out of there, right? And so there is definitely a contingent. There's a caucus within Congress that wants him out. But the question is are they just acting on interest? And I hate to say that because it seems like T-Shroom's just being the big devil's advocate guy today. But the only
thing I will say is it would require also, even if the Congress got the votes, I could be wrong, double check this, but I think a lot of these positions, his position, the head of the Fed,
would have to go through the Senate and Biden's desk as well.
They could get vetoed. The president of the United States could veto is that an impeachment? I don't know if they're called impeached, but fired. Joe Biden could, and whoever sitting president could prevent that. In the same boat, if the president wants him out, but Congress defends him, they can't get rid of him either. Which is so stupid about this whole position. The power he has over us as individuals, even though we have no role in him being appointed or taken out, is very scary thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we've nibbled at it here. Obviously, we'll see what ends up happening. What's important to note is that there's, this is just the first action. The Wells notice is the first action, and then comes, usually it's an investigation if there is a next step, and then comes a lawsuit. So, I think I said that they're suing Robinhood here. They're not suing Robinhood yet, right? But Wells notice is an initial threat. You better get it straight. You got this crypto stuff on your exchange, get it off. And Robinhood's not going to, and then they're going to be taken to court, and they're going to have the same result, probably as Ripple Labs on the retail side, probably as Coinbase, time and time again, probably as a litany of other crypto v. SEC motions. Well, PENDLE's getting some pump in the news. Arthur Hayes invests $500,000 into PENDLE in his buy in May crypto strategy worth following. Of course, Arthur Hayes, founder of some major crypto institutions early on in the space, and also has one of the bigger crypto newsletters. Him putting his weight behind a coin like PENDLE is very, very bullish for the coin.
Yeah.
I think it was down today, actually, but it's been one of those that's kind of bucked the trend along with Ondo and a few other that have been kind of buoyed. A couple others that have been buoyed, kind of trading sideways throughout this crypto correction in the late spring. So, Pendle, what do you I mean? It generally
Well,
has a positive connotation in my mind. Let's look at it on the charts, Tim.
well, even before the charts, let's just start with Arthur Hayes. Arthur Hayes, again, there's no such thing as a perfect call. But Arthur Hayes has had a history of transitioning from one coin to another coin at the right moment. He did a pretty good job of saying when you should switch. And I think it ended up at this point, you would have probably broken out even, give or take. But after a massive Solana pump, he was one of the people saying it's time to move Solana into Ethereum. And within about a week and some change after he said that, you actually did see, if you would have been looking at the Solana over ETH chart, you would have seen that chart start to drop, meaning Ethereum is becoming more valuable. So I like Pendle even without Arthur Hayes kind of saying, "Hey guys, I'm double backing my bet on this one." But the fact that he is doing that makes me even more bullish on Pendle. Now, it's been a minute since I did TA on Pendle. Do you remember the ticker for that one, T-Shroom?
I don't actually.
Maybe I can just go this and go crypto. Let me see.
It's
Pendle. I
just
think it might
Pendle.
just be Pendle. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Full-fledged, just Pendle. All right, let's go take a look at what the chart is doing here. I can tell you right now, we saw a significant pullback here that looks consistent with where we've kind of pulled back beforehand. Let me just check this out. Kind of similar to Bitcoin, you always take a look at these things. Before, we've seen corrections during this little rally, 40%, give or take. That's 39%. Right in here, let's see how far this one pulled back, because that's a little far. 30%. So I would say if we're anywhere between 30 to 40, that's a pretty consistent pullback with what we have. And guess what? 46. So this has actually been the strongest pullback Pendle's had pretty much in its existence. It probably existed a little bit before July of 2023, but this is the Tether chart on Binance. So there's not going to be a lot of charts to give you better information here. So I love that. I love that it already had its largest pullback of this cycle. It didn't quite pull back necessarily to resistance, but again, you didn't see that happen before either. And a lot of these newer coins, you gotta learn how to sometimes throw out some of the rules of technical analysis. Others come into play here. Let's take a look at what Lux is saying about it here on the daily chart. It did not get to its take profit, but you can see here it kind of canceled this one out. This is one case where you definitely, in fact, well, I'll tell you what, guys, it hit its first take profit. Watch this. Sell order way back here. The first take profit, did not click on it. There you go. First take profit was down here. It absolutely hit it. So LuxAlgo actually did call this pretty well. It just isn't calling it the second one. So we can get rid of that one. Yes, I'm done with replay. Thank you very much. Right now, there's a smart trail concept above us, all the way back up above $6. So when I'm looking at the more bullish long-term output, that's what I'm kind of watching here. There's not on the daily chart anything of significance in this zone. If I were to go down to the 4-hour chart, we are under a sell order right now with a take profit at 432 and 375 at the more aggressive levels. So you could see a pullback that far. But when I'm looking at the daily chart, I'm seeing a good reason to feel confident about this pullback not necessarily being inadequate, meaning that could have been the very bottom of what it needed to go. And again, we could see ourselves pull back down. Well, I guess the 4-hour chart did say kind of double bottom of those levels, didn't it? At the aggressive side. We don't have to. I would be surprised if we drop back down below that. Let's take a look at the oscillators, though, here on the daily chart and see what they are saying. Yeah, again, a lot of bearishness here. Our stochastics RSI got overextended. It's working its way back up. RSI, it did reject here on the 50, but again, was overextended to the downside. I'm going to put that in the category of neutral, but I like what stochastics is looking like. MACD looks like it wants to cross back and start heading back towards a bullish cross. And then we have the LuxAlgo oscillator here. It's not time just yet. So again, that's why I showed you on the 4-hour chart, we could get a pullback down closer to those $4 levels. But we do have the green reversal. We did get the bullish momentum. All we need now is the money flow to start flowing positive. It's moved mostly sideways and is still below the bearish threshold. Once we cross above that bearish threshold, I like what I'm seeing on the daily chart to resume bullishness to the upside. I'm kind of thinking here, if I go back to the 4-hour chart and I were to set up a trade setup here, let me grab my tool for it. I'm kind of looking at maybe a limit order Even just a smart show concept, honestly. Limit order probably entering somewhere on that smart show concept. And then this is one, like, I'm putting a trade order. I mean, if you want to take profit on the trade, you can probably take profit back up here around 670. But this is one I might say that's a good just long-term buy for PENDLE. PENDLE's one of those tokens that I think is small enough. It doesn't have to follow the rule of what Bitcoin and some of the blue chip cryptos are going to do. This is absolutely one that could just continue to move to the upside based off of adoption and use case scenario for PENDLE.
Yeah, absolutely. And Crux of Crypto has also said that he has done a shallow dive, a deep dive. Not exactly sure what type of dive into, but he said he's done a crypto quick dive for the YouTube members on PENDLE. So if you go into the Discord for the Investing Bros, you'll be able to get access to that quick dive. And also just a note here on PENDLE is Uniswap's biggest competitor. The amount of TVL locked in their ecosystem is insane. Also adopted by many different blockchains. That's from the mouth of crypto, Crux of Crypto himself, kind of letting us know a little bit about the fundamentals there of PENDLE. Now you saw throughout that analysis there that you did very good job, by the way, Tim. Very good job on that PENDLE PA. But throughout it, you saw Tim going ahead and using Lux ALGO, and you're probably thinking, man, it looks pretty clean, looks pretty good. You know, as a newer person to trading, it might be something you might benefit from. Well, right now, we're actually running a 40% off special with Lux ALGO, 30-day money guarantee, 30-day money back guarantee. So you literally have everything to gain and nothing to lose with this. You risk nothing by going ahead and signing up for Lux ALGO. And you just saw, you know, how much easier it makes trading and investing, which if that's what you're getting interested in, you know, Lux ALGO is going to definitely help you get across the finish line of any goals you got set up for investing.
I think the other thing is we're going to be having, so it's normally be Thursdays, but last week, obviously, with all of the chaos I had in my life with my son, we did not have our stream. But when you buy Lux ALGO, you get access into our VIP trading group for daily discussions, feedback, trade setups that I'm seeing that I like, but then also a weekly stream. So we're going to make up for that tonight, right after the show. I'm going to probably run to the bathroom real quick, but then come back. All of our members, we're going to have a members only, like our VIP traders members only stream. And that's only for either the OG members that signed up as members a long time ago or people recently who have bought Lux ALGO and connected into our account. So look forward to that every Thursday, but tonight is a special edition Monday, right after the show. You guys look forward to that. T-Shroom, is there any more stories, or do we have our time for our factoid and our Q&A?
There is. There's one more story, and there's a clip that's like.
Oh, I love clips.
All right, yeah. Let's run the clip. This is about modern monetary theory. I have been really sinking my teeth into these sound bites that have been coming out from this woman, Stephanie Kelton. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a lesson. Let the clip talk for itself.
It's modern monetary theory, and so again, the currency, we're not on a gold standard. We're in the modern fiat age.
Okay, what's fiat? What's fiat?
Well,
is it a good car that I should get, or what?
What you're walking around with, if you've got some of this stuff in your wallet, is a tax credit. So those dollar bills that we're walking around with, we think of that as money, right? And we can use it to transact. We can use it to buy and sell things. We can use it to make purchases of goods and services.
And money is good.
It's good to have.
Okay.
Generally, and it's really good to have when you got to pay your taxes, because this is what the government expects us to hand over at the end of the day.
Okay, money is good. I'm with you so far.
So,
Tim, so funny. These interviewers are really throwing the meatballs at her.
I mean, I don't know their names, but this is a comedy group. But
so
maybe
this is
more.
She's on the Daily Show, which is why I'm pausing, because it's probably Paramount or something owned by Sony Pictures or something. But yeah, no, these guys are just a bunch of straw men sitting here on the Daily Show, kind of shilling the propaganda of the day. We'll keep listening.
Yeah. But let's do this.
Okay.
What about that government deficit that you just mentioned, right? And I said every government deficit is good for someone. Why? Because it's just a financial deposit into some other part of the economy. The question is, good for whom and good for what? The government can increase its deficit to do things like feed hungry kids, tackle the climate crisis, fix crumbling infrastructure. All of those things are ways to use a government deficit that might have desirable results for people and for the economy.
So money is good. Deficit is good. I'm with you so far.
So then it goes into this clip that's actually pretty funny as well. Let's just go ahead and play it.
About the briefcase, my friend Harry and I have every intention of fully reimbursing you.
And of course, the briefcase has
What is this? What is this? Where's all the money? That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs. Go ahead.
from the movie Dumb and Dumber. Oh man, it's hilarious. So,
Yeah.
you know, these sound
This
bites,
is the
these
talking
videos.
point. Yeah, this is a comedy-based group that knows nothing, used to shill to dumb American viewers that when we're about to have an election season and you keep hearing this word deficit, that
It's good.
the Republicans are going to keep talking negatively about, but Democrats are going to keep saying, "Oh, it's good." You'll think that everything is. That's the gameplay here, ultimately.
Right. Yeah.
Is what they're trying to do here.
Absolutely, Tim. And it comes at a time where $34.7 trillion in U.S. national debt, right? So when you talk about deficits, you know, saying, oh, well, actually, deficits they identify as good now. The deficit is identifying as good. Its pronoun is great and wonderful. You know, that's kind of what we're seeing here. A lot of people may not be familiar with modern monetary theory. It is really bad. Right, it's something that's starting to become a bit more pervasive. Now, what I will say though is that Bidenomics, in my opinion, just judging from it from my vantage point, has not fully adopted modern monetary theory. There are absolutely some stipulations that are different with Bidenomics and modern monetary theory, which is a macroeconomic theory that suggests governments can and should use fiscal policy to manage their economies. Right, so it's like Keynesian economics on steroids. And, you know, there's a lot to be said here. Is this going to affect your crypto portfolio? Not in the next month, probably not even in the next year. But here is the real question, Tim, is we've been kind of asking this question, is the future of world governance, is it going to be what we're used to, which is like sovereign nations, or is it going to be corporate alliances that are governing the nation, that govern the world?
Now,
and I think the real question, the real question is that corporate structure positioning itself with having media folks come out and talk about it in a positive way, kind of taking deficits out of the pejorative and put it into the affirmative for society and for culture. Is that kind of a signaling that even the corporate structure is looking into modern monetary theory as the way that it wants to operate monetary systems in the future, maybe even through crypto, to the extent that would be possible? So that's kind of the question that's kind of creeping in for me as I'm watching and listening to this woman go around and talk about Stephanie Kelton is her name. Stephanie Kelton, economic advisor to Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. She kind of goes around and trots this modern monetary theory out.
And guess what? This modern monetary theory is actually amazing for crypto holders.
It is.
Because as the dollar continues to lose value, people are going to flood somewhere else for their value. And that's where we are going to be benefiting in crypto. So we watch this clip and we say, good for crypto, terrible for the United States. In here, Rick Nacho said, he said, that's the wrong. He said, to be honest, who still watches Comedy Network? 20 to 30-year-old stoners, ? And here's the truth is, yeah, probably. That's it. Like, you're not having intelligent people watching this. But unfortunately, at this point, well, I say unfortunately, I'm glad that people get to vote. But the truth is, the mass majority of voters probably are not the top level of intelligent that we would want them to be. We want everyone to have an opinion and a voice. We want to educate people. And unfortunately, there are still things like Comedy Network that does try to educate people, and that's just not going to get the best education whatsoever. Let's see. We do got a new bro. Now, my crypto journey, I'm assuming this is Rodney. I'm not a fake account. If this is Rodney, what up, Rodney? We got to get Rodney on the show here at some point.
Heck
love to
yeah.
have him on.
That'd be awesome.
For the memberships, man. Supporting the bros. Let's get into T-Shroom. Let's get into the factoid of the day.
The factoid of the day?
Yeah, I think. And then people also want a word of the day. Do you have a word of the day today?
We may be able to indulge in a word of the day, maybe into the Q&A section. A word of the day may emerge. But today, the factoid of the day, and believe it or not, Tim, is actually brought to you by who we trust, which is iTrust Capital. And they're bringing us the factoid of the day today is, when were Pop-Tarts toaster pastries first introduced by Kellogg's? Was it September 14th, 1964? Or was it 71, 1948? Or was it, Tim, 2003, your birthday year? Just kidding. It's not your birthday year.
I have no idea. So let's just go with 1964.
Really?
I have
Okay.
a rule that I don't like to go with the oldest. I always go with the second oldest when we talk about how old is something.
All right, here we go. No. Tim, you got it right. Very impressive. Introduced September 14th, 1964. Almost 60 years. Now, of course, T-Shrimp, why is Toasters the question? Well, because Unfrosted is a film that's just come out. I had a delightful time enjoying this film with Jerry Seinfeld and a myriad. Like, I haven't seen such a star-studded film in years. Mostly because I don't watch a lot of the trite that comes out of Hollywood, but it was enjoyable to watch. I had a nice time, and look, I will look the other way on the Hollywood nonsense if Jerry Seinfeld signed off on it, you know. And after all, I will say that this was a pretty good film, produced by Netflix as well. That's Unfrosted. You can tune into your Netflix account.
Do they say that in the video? So, if theoretically speaking, I haven't seen the movie, but if I had seen the movie, would I know that fact?
No, they don't. No. And something else that's interesting that don't even address is that Kellogg's is now owned by Kellanova, and I believe Kellogg's is just a brand now. It's not a company anymore. So
right,
it's very interesting there. But Pop-Tarts
is a
Pop-Tarts.
It's a brand, not an actual description. It's kind of like Kleenex. Like everyone's like, "Oh, pass me a Kleenex." It's like, well, that's not Kleenex brand or whatever. It's tissues.
Now, I'll go a step further here because I see that the BROZ, the chat, is clamoring with interest for Unfrosted. I will even go as far as say this is basically like a theatrical, I'd say probably 20% fiction recount of a somewhat important moment in consumer history, at least American consumer history, when the Pop-Tart came out, right? And I predict that we're going to be seeing a lot more of these types of films where it's like, you know, the history of maybe not the shovel, that'd be pretty far back, but maybe the history of the Craftsman chainsaw, right? And it's like clearly there's probably some exchange of value between these brands, but I think that we'll be going back, we'll be hearing a lot more lessons and history lessons about corporate history of the introduction of new brands like Sharpie or Snickers or different things like that. So that's my non-crypto price prediction for the future.
Yeah. Shout out to Caleb Franzen in chat saying good afternoon again.
Yo.
Look forward, guys, to Wednesday. Caleb Franzen Wednesdays. I always look forward to them. It makes that hump day not so bad, you know?
Absolutely.
Remington Peralt, been a member now for 9 months. Got that blue badge. That's what you get when you join the memberships. You've been here long enough, you get different colored badges. He said, Tim, did you trim the beard? I swear yours was longer than mine. Much love. I need to trim it. I mean, I've trimmed it probably about a month and some change ago, but it's definitely, you guys can see like there's definitely like just some outliers that need to cut back. So, you know, it needs a little trim going on. If you guys remember a long time ago, this is going to have to be OGs on here when we were still with Crypto Jeb. And I don't know if you were with the company or not, but I went on a time where I let the beard get as long as possible. It looked ugly as all get out. It was terrible. I have a shape and a length that's just, it works for me. Anything longer than it gets bad. I literally had, that pretty much was it. It was down to like, definitely, it didn't get all the way down to my nipples. I didn't get that far.
Was it this long?
Definitely getting close to the nipples. And again, some of the OGs will remember, it was a weird looking thing. This is my shape. And again, a little bit shorter than this is probably my go-to. Now, I don't know if it was this. I'd have to in Discord, send a picture, Remington Pearl. Let me see what your beard looks like. James F said Caesar's best men left him for hashtag Preto CTO. Okay, I don't know what that is, James, but thank you for the donation. Can you guys do a Soul, please? So I'm not going to do Soul TA because, and I'll do Soul TA tomorrow, but there's a Solana price prediction going on. Look, Solana's pumping at the moment, back up above 153.
There you go.
I'm not on it. Sorry, 153 right here on Solana. But yeah, there's a Solana price prediction for the top of 2025 coming out. I'll do some shorter term Solana TA maybe tomorrow. There were some others. and I'm remembering this now. You guys can put some coins in here. We have a couple of minutes before we're going to call it a show. Render, though, was a token that I've seen several requests. Sativio Shimoto says, would you die? I don't think so. I don't think I would dye my beard. Not going to happen. All right, Render TA. Let's take a look at what's going on here, T-Shroom. I'm going to be on the 4-hour chart. Let's do some shorter terms. El Thoro said, Tim, when new price predictions? Well, one tonight and then a couple more coming out this week.
Before you get too deep into that really quickly, there was also another funny comment from Sativio Shimoto. He said, Gary's first job was counting nickels from pinball machines. That might actually be true. So it's funny, but it might be true. I don't know.
I have no idea. No idea about that one. Let's take a look here. First of all, before I go in there, decent little W pattern going on right here. So that's a decent sign of potential bottom being in there on Render. But, doesn't mean it has to be over. Let's take a look at what ALGO is saying here. We have not hit the 4-hour take profit, but we did get the blue X. So that's going to be probably good enough to say there's a chance we actually don't end up hitting that. And in fact, again, this was the second one. You can tell because the buy signal is lower than the stop loss. So this is one where Render's buy signal from ALGO did so well it printed a second one. But again, the probability of the second one getting hit is a lot. In my experience with ALGO, a lot less than the first one. I've seen it happen, so I'm not saying it'll never happen. But a lot of times when you see the first take profit hit and then you see another one, you're like, all right, when are we going to reverse here? Eventually we'll hit it, but I would imagine we have a sell order before that happens here. Keep an eye on the smart show concept quickly rising up here. Back, it's rising quickly. So by the time we touch it, we're probably talking about over $9. But that's where I'm kind of looking at first for a little bit of pullback. Being that high, yeah, I didn't say it beforehand, but I was gonna say being that high in the 4-hour chart, I guarantee you oscillators are high. Stochastics RSI has already started working its way down. That's a positive sign here that we're gonna set a higher low though. So keep an eye again on that smart show concept. But Stochastics RSI is going down. We're still 100% overbought on the 4-hour. You see the MACD looks like it wants to have a bearish cross here, probably within the next 24 hours. And then you have this one. So it's not time necessarily on the 4-hour just yet, although if it went to the 1-hour, I bet you the 1 hour is negative. Yeah, 1 hour you would have sold back here when you had the trifecta red reversal, bearish momentum, and the negative money flow. But 4-hour chart for a more sturdy one, went to the wrong one. 4-hour chart, let's go back here. We got the red reversals. We got a lot of them. We have a very strong bearish momentum. The money flow looks like it's keeling over and wants to move down. We had excessive buyers in here, but when they drop off, this drops quickly. So it's one of those things on the 4-hour chart. I might be tempted to get an edge on it and get in early. But theoretically speaking, sometimes you do see little bounce backs. And I think that's what we saw on the 1-hour. The 1-hour is kind of insinuating we could see a bounce back. So don't be surprised to see Solana actually go a little higher even, potentially. Maybe get back up here towards 1040. But the 4-hour definitely showing us that it wants to move back down. So maybe look for, in this case, what I'm probably doing here is I'm looking for a short position. Let's go here. I'm probably going to come back up and look for an entry. I'll go 1036. Let's go a little higher than our entry. I'll do this. I'll kind of give a tighter stop loss towards 1085. But this one, based off the I said $9. Let's put that prediction somewhere in this category, $9.15. With my entry point being somewhere in the realm of $10.36, because the hour definitely looks bullish and like we want to make a bounce back up. But that 4-hour, we're just waiting for the right time to have a nice short come in. We've had a good bounce here on Render, but all good things come to some form of an end on the 4-hour chart. I do think a cool off is possibly in the cards here for that token. Keep an eye on that one. Let's see. What else do we have here? 150K and he dyes his beard pink. Here's the problem, Eric Wallen. If we get to 100 and I shave my beard, but then we get to 150K, I wouldn't have a beard to I guess, but 50K wouldn't happen like overnight. My beard would be growing back at that point. Okay, yes, we'll do it. 150,000 subscribers before the end of 2024, and I will dye my beard whatever color you guys.
You have to bleach it first, right? That's a bleach first and then a dye, right?
I am not a professional on dyeing beards.
Because bleaching that hair pink would just make it look maybe a little bit red.
Why you just? Oh, he did say pink, didn't he? Dyes his beard pink.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'd have to bleach your beard first and then dye it pink.
Okay. All right.
I got a good question here while we pontificate on that one.
Yeah.
Corey Keating said, "This is the first cycle that the Fed has not had QE positions since the launch of Bitcoin. Do you think there will be enough liquidity to pump altcoins?" My quick answer is yes. And we are headed into what looks like probably a QE position, right? Maybe not this year, but next year. So the market, all it needs is the hope of QE.
And this goes back to, and I've heard this on a couple different places. If you ever hear an influencer or a report or an article ever talk about, don't show my chart because I'm not doing anything in the chart. If you ever hear them say that historically, when we pivot and start going into quantitative easing, meaning we start to, that's my future right there. When we start to cut rates, that the stock market crashes, it's true, but it's not true for the reasons you think it is. Ultimately, historically, quantitative easing happens in response to an economic disaster, meaning that the stock market starts to crash and then they start to ease to lower the pain. But of course, the stock market falls because the economy was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be one of the few times, and this has happened before, so it's not like it's the first time ever, but this is a time period where I think the easing will actually come in response to more of they want to help the economy, so they ease rather than responding to a bad economy, in which case I think there is a chance that we see a state of quantitative easing and a bull market continues for altcoins and Bitcoin. Now, again, we've never seen it in that way because altcoins and Bitcoin were created in response to the last major economic disaster. But I think that this is going to be a time where you'll see some people who don't fully understand the history say, oh, quantitative easing, we got to dump, and the market's about to dump. They're going to misunderstand it, and they're going to miss out on a great run. Yeah. Now, that's if we don't have anything bad happen when they start to ease. If all of a sudden the stock market starts crashing and the economy is going into a tailspin, and then they start easing, then history will repeat itself, and it'll keep crashing. The ease will not be good enough to stop the dump. But if we're able to maintain and move sideways right now, and all of a sudden the Fed comes out and says, you know what, guys, we're going to start cutting rates, that's not going to be a negative. That is going to be a positive for the markets.
Yep.
So
which is why they're not going to do it yet. And that's why they're not going to do it yet. So like the other thing, really simply what Tim's saying here, I'm going to mansplain for a second, is that cuts are bullish. Cuts literally pump new liquidity into the market, as Corey was asking about. That is one of the more bullish things that a financial monetary policy setter can do, right? The opposite would be QT, which is what we're coming out of right now. And with elevated rates, relative to the last decade, that is QT. Sorry, I put simply. See, I'm doing a terrible job at mansplaining. Cuts are good. Cuts are bullish. Don't let anybody ever tell you they're not. However, cuts are implemented because they're forecasting bad things to come. And why would you use a weapon to make the market bullish when you're in good times, right? You wouldn't. You're going to wait till bad times and then you use that weapon. So, of course, there's a strong correlation between the use of cuts and recessions. So, hopefully that makes sense. For probably 10% of you, it's still not clicking. But I think for a lot of folks, that probably helped quite a bit. And it wasn't what I said, Tim. It was what you said, for sure.
Yeah, as we get closer, we'll explain more in depth what's happening there. James F. with another super chat. So thanks, man. I'll pay you a Swiss beer with my hashtag Purito wallet. I want everyone to know, because I see a couple other comments. I don't know if these are bots. I don't know if these are people shilling Purito. There's definitely a shill happening. I would tell you guys to do your own research. I'll tell you this. If you are in the habit of purchasing coins because you saw a random super chat on a YouTube channel, we might need to go back to the basics of what a good investment is and what a bad investment is. Do your research. I'm not saying Purito sucks and is not going to do anything. I don't know what it is. It just got airtime because James gave us two different super chats. So thank you to James. But please do not go buy Purito because you heard it on Investing Bros. Do some research.
Absolutely.
See if you like it.
Now, Tim, Tim, you asked about a word of the day, and I think Friday it was that we had the word rueful here. But the new word of the day is entomology, and I like this because I can participate with you all. The factoid elf for this is just the New York Times, apparently.
Yeah.
They have a really nice word of the day that they come out with every day. So try to use this one in a sentence, Tim. Entomology.
Well,
You might know what it means,
hey,
'cause I know
Shroom,
what it means.
What does etymology mean to you?
You want me to use it in a sentence first?
I would love for you to. I have no idea what it is.
Entomology is like, what is the entomology of the word sarcasm, right? And then you'd say, oh, I don't know, because I don't know where it's the origin of the word, I
Okay.
believe. So let's discover together the entomology. And there's no N. It's just etymology. The word etymology appears 31 times in the New York Times. Who cares?
No.
A history of a word. Yeah, the study of the sources
origin,
and developments of a word. Yeah, the origin.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got that one right, T-Shroom. Good
If
for you.
it wasn't the New York Times and they weren't a bunch of dingbats, they probably would have just said the origin of a word, right? And just kept it simple. And they wouldn't have had me mansplain exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
Etymology, word of the day. Bing, bing, bing.
Etymology, word of the day. Love it. Let's see here. We're going to. James F says they are not bots. So good. I'm glad you guys aren't bots. I don't know about your project, and I'm not going to do live research on it. If people want to do research on it, they can do so. I'm going to use probably one more question, and then we're going to wrap up today's show. We're going to do one more chart that you guys want to do. And by the way, in case you guys like when I respond to charts, this is the kind of stuff that you get more in depth on a daily basis if you join the VIP trading group. Not everyone takes advantage of it. Sometimes we go some days and no one asks anything. But theoretically speaking, once you get in the group, if you want to come in and say, Tim, what are your thoughts about Ajax or Near or Stacks or Caspa? I can't, if I got like 100 requests in one day, I can't do them all. But especially on some days, I might only get like 2 or 3. I absolutely love to kind of do some basic TA for you. And then also, we're going to spend these streams educating you guys on pretty much what you guys want to learn about. Do you want to learn about ALGO? Do you want to learn about traditional TA? Do you want to look at specific trade setups? These are times where you guys can come in and a smaller group can ask me a bunch of questions. So we do them sometimes on the show, but other times you guys definitely can get more of it by joining our trading group by buying ALGO. I'm going to scroll here for a little bit because we got some questions way back up. I'm just going to find the first coin that people seem
Tim,
to.
is this the real reason why you're growing your beard out? Because one day you hope to be approached by a news reporter to ask you, Tim, what's your name? It's Tim. Well, why is your beard so long, sir? And then what would you say if you were interviewed right now? Why is your beard so long? But you had like a 12x longer beard.
I don't know.
You wouldn't have an interesting answer ready?
I'm not wrapping my brain around that one at the moment. I'm looking for a coin to do some technical analysis on. Let's see here. What did you see a lot of? Because I think I scrolled too far.
We already did Solana, right?
We do fetch. I see fet in here. James, another super chat. Thanks again, man. Bros, hashtag burrito is also a cat. It's a wrapped cat in a blanked. You know what?
About it. You know what? El Thoro asked about Crow, and I don't know. Like, it's a pretty big coin because it's the.
You want to look at Crow?
Yeah, it's the exchange coin for crypto.com.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's look at Crow on Coinbase.
Let's get Crow on the show.
Oh, I see what you did there. Let's do a daily version because, again, I don't anticipate doing this TA that often. I like what we have kind of going on here with how these things have pulled back. This is an example of where we've pulled back to former resistance, turned it into more of support. We've seen in this time period, again, from the bottom of the market, we had a nice 42% correction. And then this one that's more recent is about a 38, give or take. So that's kind of close enough for government work. You're also going to notice, I love when we see these kind of these descending channels, which you saw back here. They more often than not break to the upside. Same thing we're kind of working on right here. You guys can clearly see, in fact, if I were to just use this channel right here, you guys can see we got a little bit of a bearish channel, a negative channel coming in here, but that's all the more reason why I do think we pop up and to the right here from Crow. Let's see what daily chart Lux is saying here. Now, that's not a great sign right off the bat. It is saying we did not hit our take profit quite yet. And we have this order block, but that's a newly created order block. So this is one that Crow has kind of escaped without hitting levels because there was no smart trail concept for it to hit to block it from coming down to the support or the take profit. This is I'll be honest with you guys, this is a pretty rare situation where we fell short and the daily chart really didn't have a reason as to why. I bet you on the 4-hour chart, I'd have to go back in history, but yeah, we hit the green support band. But yeah, I bet you there's a take profit on this sell order. But very strange. The daily chart did not drop that low. Let's see what the oscillators are kind of saying here. They bounced back up. Oh, okay, here's what I will say. They look like they bounced back up, but they're ready to kind of keel over and go back down. You can see the MACD looks like it's about to cross bearish. RSI is wrestling with the 50. Stochastics is overextended and it's time for it to cool off. And then, of course, and your dogs agree with me, you are seeing the bearish signs in here. Not the trifecta because we're not getting a reversal, but you are seeing the money flow and the momentum start to go south again after a less than inspiring rally on this oscillator here. So I'm not trading Crow right now, but this is one that I'm looking at and saying we didn't get down to the take profit and we didn't hit the smart trail or any major order block either. So I could see Crow making its way back down to 10 cents. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily, but it definitely could. Weekly chart, yeah, I mean, it's a fat range is bouncing off this breaker block, but you guys can see here that breaker block's so thick. Look at that. Smart Show concept on weekly chart back down here towards 10 cents. So again, I feel less confident about the technical analysis on this one as I did the others, but I think there's an outside chance 10 cents is still in the cards for Crow as a cool-off point before it resumes its rally. All right, we're going to wrap it up today. Joseph said, I'm interested in how Lux Algo was made. Yeah, I know the owner, and I've heard the story before, but I need to probably refresh myself on that one.
Yeah.
The little bit I do know is actually pretty interesting.
Jump into the Discord because we're going to have we're organizing a museum trip to the Lux Algo Museum to see how it's made. So we're going to have some fun with that. Okay. A joke that did not land there with Tim. But Sativio Shimoto made an excellent suggestion, and we will go ahead and take a look here at Tim's Instagram where he did not have a beard. Ever so slightly.
That's true. I think I'm 18 in that photo. No, look, go back to this photo. Go back to that photo, actually. So proof I've been a Virginia Tech fan my whole life. Now, I don't know how to wear chains, apparently. I don't know if we've just been playing football or what. But that's Tim. That's Tim. And that's if any of you guys have ever seen my brother Caleb, this might be one of the last photos of him being shorter than me.
Oh, gosh. I thought you were going to say something else, Tim. I thought the stream was going to take a turn for the worst. You said this was one of the last photos
of him being shorter than me. My brother, that brother photographed was a college, Division I college football tight end who then went on he didn't make the roster, but he had a tryout with the Seattle Seahawks. So he made it a lot farther in football than I did. So you got to give him that. That's something he'll be able to take to his grave. He doesn't beat me at a lot, but he beat me in a football career. So good for him.
You gotta love it.
James, I don't remember the super chat where you gave me $100 to look at the chart. Thank you for being here, James. And I believe you're not a bot, but I'm not going to look at Pareto. If people want to look it up for themselves, they're more than happy to. Let's go ahead and just get rid of this guy as well. This is the thing, guys. When you grow as a channel, you have to deal with spams. So, we're going to get used to it. It's probably time to start creating. It's probably time to knighting more moderators. It's been a long time. We've had a lot. We've probably doubled in growth without a new moderator. So in Discord, give us arguments in general chat as to why you should become a moderator today on the fastest growing crypto channel. Guys, that's all I have for you in today's video. That's all T-Shroom has for you. It's been a fun show. All of our VIP traders, get ready in Discord here in about 5 minutes. We're going to be going live in the channel over there. I think it's called, I don't want to say this wrong, so it's going to be under that same group. The Traders Stage. Trader Stage will be live in about 5 minutes for about 45 minutes to an hour or so, where I'll answer all the questions you guys ask about Lux Algo, about charting, about trade setups. So with that said, the rest of you guys, see you tomorrow. Adi.
Trying to make paper, turn that vanity cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shouted out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms News got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper. Turn that better to cake. Money like Lego. Connect the dots stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.